This is the back office to the Wizards Toolkit, and today I'm going to show you how to download, set up, and configure the Wizards Toolkit so that you can do quick and easy development. Alright, first, on the Wizards Toolkit website, you'll be able to find tutorials, which will include this tutorial and many others, and the normal documentation. And from the documentation page, you can go to installation instructions, then click the download link and download the entire Wizards Toolkit environment. I'm going to put it in the Wiz Demo empty folder. You can see there's nothing in it now, nothing up my sleeves. Here's the zip file I just downloaded. I'll unzip it. And I'm going to move it all back to the, let's put it back in this main folder. We don't need to have a separate folder for it. The Wizards Toolkit has lots of different features. With it, you'll get SQL database tables for tracking all the basics. You'll be able to register new users with encrypted passwords, login, logout functionality, forgot password functionality, a starter page with dashboard and widgets so you can be up and running immediately, CSS Maker, which will help you build your own color themes so not all Wizard Toolkit websites look alike, they will all look different, Lockout, brute force hackers. Of course, every website I've ever worked with, you end up having hackers trying to break in, so I built in some ways to just stop brute force hackers. Back office for staff with ways to manage users. In fact, let's go back in here. And if we go to users, we have the contact information. And here you can enter their information like phone, cell phone. Allow the website to use Skype for phone calls, allow the user to edit help, allow them to export, let them upload photos. And here you can send them an invite. You can also send them a password reset, and you can check to see what their logins have been. That's all included. You can review update logs, error logs, manage the help system, track emails sent from the website, manage multi-language translations, and create SQL reports and charts. We're going to go through that today, quick and easy. So the admin folder has all the files that you need for the back office. Wizards Toolkit does come with a simple blog, which is great for SEO. Demos, lots of demo pages, and we're adding more demo pages all the time. The dev utils, currently there's only Atom snippets. Atom is a great text editor if you use that. There's snippets that have a quick capability of building PHP functions or calling the PHP functions that are in the Wizards Toolkit. In the docs folder, you'll find the same thing that you'll find on the Wizards Toolkit docs section, which includes everything you need for the actual function calls to know how to call functions to send email and all the other fun things. Exports, this folder starts off empty because it is where exports of CSV and XML files end up going. Images folder. Right, it starts off with a fave icon folder, which we recommend you put your fave icon files in there. And we do have the Iconifier README, which is a great way to take a logo and have it convert to fave icons of all the standard sizes that Apple wants when you create a mobile app. And then the user folder, which is the place that people's images will upload when users put in their profile photo. The ionCube folder you shouldn't upload to your production server, but it helps you with setting up ionCube. The SQL folder has all of the SQL files necessary to create the database or add the Wizard Toolkit tables to your database. testWTK we're definitely going to look into. That helps you do the setup and configuration for Wizard's Toolkit. And the WTK folder holds a lot of special files for Wizard's Toolkit that are used for various purposes like logging in, logging out, and includes your CSS files, your fonts, HTML templates, and the core Wizard's Toolkit library, which you can open up and see how the files actually work so you get a better familiarity with the functions that make Wizard's Toolkit such a powerhouse for productivity while you're developing. All right, let's get into it. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to MAMP, and we will change the location from my current Wizard's Toolkit environment to WizDemo. I figure all developers have MAMP or XAMPP or WAMP, so they can do local development testing. When you start with Wizard's Toolkit, you'll have everything you need right off the get-go. Okay, so now let's go to the testWTK file. All right, already we see that this is looking pretty good. It's verified the UI and pass, the core JS and CSS files are recognized. Now let's look at the database. All right, we are going to need to run the scripts in the database, and we can click there and look at them this way, but let's actually go and add them my preferred way. I'm going to add a project folder so I can check out demos, WizDemo. Here we go. All right, now this was all from that zip file, so we're going to just grab all of this, go to my local host. I actually prefer using SQL Pro, but phpMyAdmin comes with MAMP, LAMP, XAMPP, so I'll use that for creating the database. I'm just pasting in that script. We'll just copy. Wizard's Toolkit comes with some functions to change like a phone number to only digits, which is extremely useful when you're doing SMSing or texting. Also WordCaps, and calculating distance based on geocodes, and building contact icons, which makes for really nice reports and forms and listing of users. So these SQL functions all come as part of the Wizard's Toolkit. The initial data. Now in the initial data, it sets up some analytic reports for users and history logs and things like that, as well as the pages for your menu structures. It includes your menu sets, which makes the data-driven menus work in the back office. And then basic lookups for like different security levels, staff roles, failures during attacks, and the states of America. A lot of the basics that many different companies are going to need. Why make you have to go and get a country list with all the 2-digit codes for every country in the world? We just include that as part of the Wizard's Toolkit. It also includes language translations. These are just the basics for what you normally need with every website, like a create account. And we have that in both English, Spanish, and Hindi. But if you don't want Hindi or whatever, you can always just delete them. And in the back office, you can add whatever language you want. I'm going to just install everything. The stored procedures that come with the Wizard's Toolkit, the main one is language swap, which is used for the making your website multilingual. There's also a replicate for database replication. Then we have some triggers, which you don't really need to know anything about. It just makes things like the forum and the blog automatically increment and set publish dates when they are made public and things like that. And then views. The view in particular is used for the dashboard for widgets to give you numbers when people log in. And this is highly expected you're going to change once you start building your own app, so that it shows whatever numbers you want in the widgets for your particular app. All right, so all the SQL scripts have run. Now let's go back and we're going to do a database check. Oh, and we see that it is using the default Wiz tools, which I already have in my MySQL database set. So we want to change that to Wiz Demo. So we go to the WTK folder, WTK server info, and this is where you set up almost everything. So for localhost, you often want to have one set of data that you do all your base testing on, and I leave it with the default user and password of root because it's only on my localhost. Once you're putting this on your production server, of course you're going to want to have it be your own database name and your own user and a good password. And then you also want to put in your own domain name and everything else. And the WTK server info file is where you do all of your setup for your company. Here's where you can put in your company name. I'll put Wiz Demo. And you would put in your company logo, your Google API key. If you use Twilio for SMS or anything else, then here's where you put in your Twilio SID and token. PayPal, likewise, here's where you put in your PayPal email address. And we'll get to the email method shortly. So I'm going to save this. Then we go back to here, refresh this. Now it says Wiz Demo, and here is our data from the Wiz Demo install. It sets up everything with the default owner for your first name and last name, which of course you want to change to the owner of the company or to the developer that's working on it. Now let's set up email configuration. I personally prefer using Postmark app, but you can have it use the SendMail or Mail or one of the many others. So let's go back to here. Here are the valid options: Postmark app, SendMail, SMTP, QMail, and Mail. I'm going to just put in my own Postmark app so that we can just get on with the testing. And let's set the email method to Postmark and go back to here. We'll say a refresh. Now it says Postmark app. The rest of the fields aren't really valid. Well, actually it is. You have to have a from address that Postmark app has approved, or Postmark app obviously won't let you use their services. Now it's using my email address for the from address. Now I can click test, and it says skip emailing until you update Glow tech support. It requires you to set the Glow tech support as well. Email failed to send. Check for error in the error log table. The error log table is a great way for you to find out exactly what's going wrong with anything, because it's automatically logged to when there's a problem. And here we see the from address you supplied is not a sender signature on your account. Let me change that to one of my valid emails for Postmark app. All right, I changed it to the email that is associated with my Postmark account. And now let's try this again. I'm going to refresh. It recognizes the from address, test sending, email sent successfully. Postmark app really is fantastic at everything. Wizard's Toolkit actually has a webhook for Postmark app to notify you if there's a hard bounce or a soft bounce or anything else. So this shows that the email successfully came through. All right, email is configured. Now we'll do the ionCube. The ionCube loader is included, which is a little tiny PHP file that ionCube provides, and it checks to see everything. It says ionCube loader already is installed, but it's an old version. So what we'll do is we'll click their link to their zip file. This will download the latest. I'm going to download it into WizDemo, just so you can see. All right, here's our ionCube file that I just downloaded from ionCube. Here's all the files. Now, let's look at this really quick. So it shows us exactly where we're supposed to put everything. So I'm going to grab these files that were in the zip file they provided and just drag them over to here. Tell it to overwrite my old ones. And then we're done with that. It tells you exactly what you need to put into the PHP file. So here is the PHP file. Even tells you where it is. So let's open that up in Atom. I'm going to go like that. I'll delete the previous. Now let's close this. And if we go back to the testWTK file, you'll see that it says ionCube loader encoded paths, and it gives the recommended path. Now, if you have multiple paths that you use for your local host, then you might need to change this in your PHP ini file, which I'm definitely going to have to do right now. So back in my PHP ini file, we see that my previous one was in the Get Wizards Toolkit folder, and my new one is recommending to put into the demos WizDemo WTK folder, because that's where I just directed MAMP to have my web server. So I'm going to just comment out this previous one, and now we should be good. So now this says the above. If you're using Windows, change it to colon, or change it from colon to semicolon. And once you're done, you need to restart your web server. So let me go back to MAMP. I'm going to stop my server. Helps to actually read the directions. And then we will restart the server. Once you've added the ionCube lines, okay, it has restarted. Click to verify your page is working with ionCube, and it is. So everything's good there. If you have any further issues, here's their actual user guide, which is a PDF, which is a text file. And of course, you can always check Stack Overflow or email me and I'll help you with the setup. All right, now we're going to reset or set the initial password. Passwords are encrypted in the database. So I'm going to just have this be a simple password. And it starts off with making the WTK users table, which is what holds all your user data, with a new pass hash of need to set. And then that way you can easily set the password. Now if I do a refresh on this, you'll see now this is the hashed password, which nobody will ever know what it actually is except for the person who set it. And the new pass hash is gone. This is what allows forgot password to work. When there's a value there, then the forgot password will allow the person to reset their password. Usually it is a long, difficult, impossible to guess hash, but for initial setup, I just set it to something simple so that it will work with this process. But now if we try to do this again, it will say it's not possible because the password has already been reset. Onward, choose color theme. Well, let's skip that for a moment. Let's first verify we can now access. I left the email with our basic. And you can see I can already access the Wizards Toolkit back office. And this is what you start with. Of course, you can change the company name, the domain URL, change everything. But you already start with all the basic data. And you can do lookups, quick filtering, set up new pages. You already have all this. And if we look in the login log, we'll see that I just logged in for the first time. I've already hit these different pages. You can see I went to the company edit page. I did the password reset several times. And it shows how many seconds or fractional seconds each page took to load. I can look at the error logs. Here's the error log where Postmark app didn't like my personal email address being used. And you can look at the update logs. Now I haven't updated any data yet, so let's do that really quick. Let's change this. I'm going to say default user, and let's make this my name, Alex Sherman. I'm going to leave the rest the same. I'm going to say, oh, Alec likes to use Skype calls. Now if we go to the update log, it will show first name was changed from default to Alec. Last name was changed from owner to Sherman. Use Skype was changed from N to Y. So, and it knows who changed it. It was associated with Alex Sherman, was the user that was logged in that changed it. And this is exactly when it was changed and what data table the data was in that was changed. Kind of cool to have all of this available from the very beginning, including you can then filter by user. If you had a whole bunch of different users, you can say, show me all the updates from this one particular user, and there it is. All right, so now that we've done that, you could check out all the demos, or let's change the color theme. I'll show you how quick and easy that is. It starts off with the blue theme, but you can change it to any of our other themes that we send out with Wizards Toolkit. We'll be adding more in the future. You can say I want dark or light. You can then modify them. Say I don't like that gradient. Let's go with, actually let's not do this. Let's green. We have a light green one as well. We have a red, sky dark. Let's go and let's change this one. We're going to change this to a more interesting. Yeah, We change the button color. It's all extremely WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Change the button border, button hover. And now when you hover over the button, it immediately shows you how it's going to look. You say, wow, that's ugly. And here, down here are the hrefs. So let's change those to something a little bit more. Let's make those kind of a reddish. Why not? And that really doesn't work for this. So let's change this to something that's darker. That's nice. All right. This is not something that I would actually really use, but this will be a nice demo. So, Wiz demo. Hit save. And now if we go back to Atom, we can see here is Wiz demo. So all it did was it set those values in these variables for the CSS file, which are then used by the WTK light CSS or the WTK dark CSS, depending on if you're using a dark theme or a light theme. And then they're further used by the WTK global, which sets everything else up and slightly modifies the original materialized CSS that we're using for our HTML template. So we just created a WTK Wiz demo. So now let's go to our HTML and we will change the blue to Wiz demo. Save that. Now let's go back to the admin office, and here you see everything's been changed. If we go, let's look at the page list. Now it has these colors. I should have changed more of the information so it was a little bit more different, but you see how quick and easy it is to change. The URLs, the headers, everything changed. All right, let's go back to here and you can check out the demos. This shows how you can have sorts automatically on your lists, how easy it is to have lookups and character counters. Okay, so we have a working back office. Now let's check it to see what the working starter page looks like. Now, of course, it's expected you're going to do a lot of changes to your dashboard and set up the way you want to have your sidebar menu and everything else, but this is what it starts off as with Wizard's Toolkit already working. These widgets are automatically pulling in data. That's not really 5 pets in the database. It's just from the view that you saw with the SQL database. You can have these be pulling from any part of your database that you want. This is it's regarding your users by security level and your login tracking. There's been 5 logins on this brand new database. We can even click on this and it will take us to a bar chart with not a lot of information yet. 31 page views, 5 logins, 1 report view, 1 update. But you see it's already working, and you can do an XML export. We'll jump back to the dashboard. We can see our logins, everything else. But let's actually make a page now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab information from the pet list demo. And let's first go to the admin back office. and we're going to go to your WTK builder. Welcome to the Wizards Toolkit builder. I have a full video on how this works, but I'm going to just quickly show you. We'll put in a security level of 1. All right. I want to say these are the SQL columns we want to pull from the pet table. We'll have a pet name quick filter. We'll leave the del date as null for the thing. Instead of deleting data, sometimes you want to just del date it or put a date as to when the person wanted it deleted. And then you just hide it. So in the where, it's going to say if there's a del date, basically if it's not null, then don't show it. And then you could then say let's add it to the menu data. And that makes it easy to put it in dropless menus since the menus are all data driven. Say edit for Wiz demo. Let's say 3 fields per row. Now I'm going to pull this from the current one, but this is just basically columns in the data table. Okay, we'll call this pet list, pet edit. All right, and now notice we're currently in the admin website. So this is going to put this in the admin directory. And if you look, we currently do not have pet list or pet edit in the admin directory. Now, I'm going to click generate pages, and it immediately created the PHP pages, and there they are. Now if we click on it, this is the PHP page that was generated by your PHP page. That's why we say Wizards Toolkit is code that writes code. It comments out some optional code that you might want to put in, like header sorts or fill suppression. So if you have columns in your thing that you use for calculations but you don't want them to be visible, you can easily do so. This allows you to center different columns. And this allows you to add additional buttons that will show up next to the edit or the delete button. And here is the filtering logic that's all built in. It also created this edit page. Here's the list of columns that we pasted in. And here I might want to say, you know what, let's put a return there so that's easier to see them. And it created all of this. And you'll notice that for most of these, it put them as text, but for a phone, it said this is a tell type. That way we'll use the HTML tell type instead of text type for the input field, which gives you extra validation. Likewise with email, we have email, date, we have date, time, we have time picker, and for files, if the name is new file name, it automatically knows that it's a file, so it uses the WTK form file instead of form text. And for those that for column names that end in the word note, then it assumes that you probably want a text area so that they could have unlimited text. And then it puts in the hidden fields and the update buttons. And let's see how this is going to look. But first, we really need to we need to add the pet table to the database. So in the demo folder, I have a pet list and pet edit, which are already tricked out with everything you could possibly want. And at the bottom, I put in the table definitions, including some lookup data and a child table called pet notes. You'll understand why in a moment. We're in the Wiz demo database. I'm going to add these 2 tables and these 3 lookups. Done. And now let's go back to the admin website. Okay, here's the admin website that just generated these pages. You see that you can click to go to the list, and this will go directly there. And this is the PHP page that we just looked at. this one up in the admin folder, the pet list. You see it's already working. It already defaults to using the standard menu structure. We can click the plus button. Since we said 3 across, it has 3 across like this. Now, this is using just standard columns. All right. But because this is a tell, as in a input type, it automatically will do the phone formatting. Because the email is using our email thing, it will tell you if it's not a valid email address. And it actually does pretty good validation. You have to have at least the first part, the ampersand, the second part, the dot, and a couple letters after that. All right, I'm going to leave the rest blank. Well, actually, no. Here we can see you can defaults the timer, and it defaults a calendar picker. So you don't even need to worry about setting up calendars. All right, and let's actually add in the demo folder. I have three images for people testing and 3 images for other testing like pets, just so you have a full pet table. Okay, we have a problem. There's a user UID field, which I forgot. In the pets table, there's a foreign key with user UID referencing the WTK users table, which is the users table that is associated with the logins. So what we're going to need is to prime that field. Now I have a snippet in Atom, so I just type prime and it sets me up. And it knows that most of the time priming is going to be user UID. And the global variable glow user UID contains the ID of the person who's currently logged in. So I can just leave it with the defaults. So now let's go back to here, say return to prior page, put our information back in. Again, that's using the Wizards Toolkit. Has a JavaScript function which helps with the formatting and validating of phone numbers. We'll leave the rest as is, and now we got something that works. All right, now let's look at the. You can see that it primed the user UID just fine with the person who's logged in, number 1. All right, now let's look at how to attach a page that you create to your framework or your HTML. In the WTK folder, HTML subfolder is spa.htm. That stands for single page app. MPA is for multi-page app. So if you're doing pages that are part of a multi-page website, you would use MPA, you would use SPA for single page apps. And the mini box is generally the mini box is used like an MPA, but with a lot less information in it. So let's go in here, look at pets. There's our pet list. We already have it, and the way you link to it is by doing the A but not href on click JavaScript Ajax Go, which is a Wizards Toolkit JavaScript function. And it uses Ajax to grab the page, and here you can say which directory. So it's going to be in our demo subdirectory. The page is petlist.php, and all of our functions in Wizards Toolkit assumes that it's going to be appending the .php, so you don't have to write it in everywhere. All right, so now let's log in. This is the back to the user app or the customer version. There's our pet list that we were just looking at. That's this right here. In fact, I'm going to save it so you can see. Pet list demo. Click it. There's our banners. Now this is using the slightly updated PHP page where I added some cool things. Let me show you those, which are all available in your demos folder. We have a SQL function called func contact icons, and if you pass the email column or value in the first parameter, the phone number in the second parameter, latitude third parameter, longitude fourth parameter, and the fifth parameter, yes or no. Yes to show the phone number in addition to having a link to it. And these are all in the SQL that we ran at the beginning. Right here. So if you want to modify this any to use different icons, for example, or make them not tiny but large, you can easily do so. And this uses the func format, our SQL function, to also format the phone number. So you can change the way that you had the phone number formatted to any format you want. And this also uses our SQL func only digits, which takes the phone number, changes it to only digits, and then this formats it properly, which gives us this. And now here we can upload the image. It says the file size. We'll use the radio to change the female. Change the pet type to rabbit. Save. And if we added a second one, let's just do that right now. Drop list. All right. And then here we can say search, and it will automatically search based on the pet name. All right. Clicking this would open up your email client. Clicking this would call the person if you have like Skype or some other calling software set up on your computer. Oh, let's add a quick note here. And that's using the modal window pop-up that is standard with materialized CSS. This is a modal window. We can save or we can cancel. All right, if you have any questions, put them in the comments and I'd be happy to answer. In summary, in 45 minutes, we just downloaded the Wizards Toolkit, created the database with over 40 tables and standard lookup data, configured it for your server, customized the color theme, verified the back office functionality works, created a custom list and edit page, and linked to it from the customer portal. You have all the basics for registering users, dealing with forgotten passwords, and user management. Done. And it's in your own database on your own server that you have 100% control over, not like a no-code solution. Now as a developer, you have a solid foundation and toolkit to quickly build data-driven websites that look good on computers, tablets, and phones. Check it out. Go to wizardstoolkit.com. Have a great day. Subscribe for more on the business of programming.